Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I'm bringing you guys the UBL Season 2 draft breakdown for the Minnesota Vikavolts. A brand new season has begun, and I am so amped up about this season. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the team that I drafted. I drafted 11 Pokemon and a Z Crystal, and it's a pretty standard draft league format where you draft Pokemon from different tiers, and you can really have the freedom of drafting whatever order you want. In this league, I kind of was torn on whether or not I was going to draft an entirely new team of Pokemon I really haven't used, or kind of mix in some old favorites, and I ended up doing the latter. So we have some old friends here, but honestly, I think this is the best team I've ever drafted. I'm so jazzed up about it. I'm so pumped about it, and I hope you guys are as well. We should have an epic week of battles kicking off next weekend. WBE is coming to a close pretty soon. I've got my playoff match against Envy, which I haven't done at the time of filming this, so hopefully I win and I can continue, but we'll see there. But either way, I'm keeping you guys active with the draft league content, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. So hit that like button down below and subscribe if you're new for one of the best places on YouTube to find draft league content. I take a lot of pride in what I do here in terms of our battling, and I've been putting a lot of time and effort into these leagues, so hopefully you guys are excited for this this new league, the UBL. Should be a lot of fun. Like I mentioned, we had to draft our team, and I think I honestly drafted like the best team I've ever drafted. Really excited to show it to you. You draft a tier 1, a tier 2, 2 tier 3s, a tier 4, a tier 5, a mega evolution, a couple free picks which are basically constricted to certain points, and then a Z crystal type. So that allows you to actually, if you were to pick, let's say what's a good example here? Rocky MZ, then you can actually use Lycanroc Z as well. So that's something to make note of. But, you know, I kind of had a little bit of a strategy going in this draft, but not really anything too crazy. You know, I kind of was thinking, okay, I really liked using Mega Pidgeot in the aDrive Army Battle League. I might go something like that, maybe like a Mamoswine Mega Pidgeot route. Kind of going into the draft, I was thinking about that. But I had like a pretty weird pick. I had like pick 11 or 12 or something like that. So realistically, like, I think I was actually pick 12. Out of 16, so I didn't quite have the wheel at the end where I can pick 2 picks in a row, but I had like a very late round 1 pick, and I was kind of torn on what to go for. But let's just dive into what I grabbed. So first pick overall, a lot of people have been wanting me to grab this, and I wanted to grab it myself, is Jirachi. To me, getting it 12th overall was really a big value. Jirachi is a great Steel-type Pokemon. Psychic and Steel-type. It does a lot of things for a team. It can be offensive with like a Choice Scarf. Obviously, Serene Grace is really nice, so it can flinch things. You know, 60% of the time, it's not hacks. It's actually hacks to not flinch them, which is super cool. But it's got so much utility. It's a great team supporter. It's a really good defensive Pokemon as well. It's a great Stealth Rock setter. It's a great U-turner. And Serene Grace can be really clutch with things like Fire Punch. So Jirachi is, funny enough, most people don't know this, but I did have Jirachi at one point in Draft League back in GBA Season 3. I think I had it for 1 game, and this season was like, went on strike, and everyone like quit the league and whatever else, but that's way before Draft Leagues like were a big deal. But yeah, Jirachi, man, I'm so pumped about this thing, dude. It gave me so much versatility in that first pick, and it knocked off the Steel-type box right away, which is always nice because I don't really like a ton of Steel types, and I'm a big believer that bulky Steel types are a huge key to the Draft League format, and Jirachi does just that for me. It gives me a very bulky Steel type, which is pretty sick. So kind of moving into our next pick here, I was a little torn because I told you in terms of Mega Evolutions, I was actually really looking at Mega Pinsir. I was really looking at Mega Pidgeot. I was really looking at, I thought Mega Heracross and Mega Scizor would be really cool, but after getting Jirachi, I was kind of like, I don't really feel like those picks fit with Jirachi. Now, granted, I could pick anything at this point. It's the very beginning of the draft, but to me, I really didn't feel like those Pokemon made a ton of sense in the team, so I actually went with the Pokemon that I felt like really synergized well with Jirachi, and a Pokemon that I've used in the past, but I felt like I could actually use even better now, and that's Mega Altaria. And Mega Altaria is a highly ranked Mega Evolution, Tier 1 Mega in Draft League format. I don't really see too many people use it a ton. Oftentimes it actually gets drafted, you know, mid-rounds, maybe even sometimes not drafted at all in the case of the WBE, but I have no doubts that this thing is an absolute monster. Fairy and Dragon, it checks off both those boxes. I wasn't really a big fan of a lot of the Dragon types available, even though it's super early on the draft. And again, there wasn't a ton of Fairies that I was like super stoked on. A lot of people pair Togekiss with Jirachi, but I'm not a big Togekiss fan personally, and even though I think it is a good Pokemon, I like Mega Altaria. I think as I've grown as a battler, there's a few skills that I've developed a little bit more, and one of those is using setup sweepers effectively. As you guys have seen with Mega Gyarados in the WBE this past season, I feel really comfortable with Dragon Dance sweepers like Mega Gyarados, which have an opportunity to usually set up a Dragon Dance pretty freely. And in the past, I used Mega Altaria and got like 15 kills in a season, so it was like number 2 behind Victini in I think it was GBA season 5 or 6, GBA season 6, I think. So I've used this thing effectively, but I really think that when you see the full team here, Mega Altaria shines on this team so well. Not only is it a good dragon type and a good fairy type, but it's got a lot of opportunities to be a really offensive Pokemon from the physical side with Dragon Dance, but also from the special side with things like Fire Blast and Hyper Voice. It can run Earthquake as well on the physical side. It's got a lot of different coverage options there to hit those steel types, to hit those poison types, and to hit really hard with Pixelate returns and Hyper Voices and even Pixelate Body Slams, which can be so clutch for Jirachi. I love that. I really love that. It obviously doesn't have a crazy power output. Its base stats aren't that good in terms of its attack and special attack, but they're decent enough, and it's got tremendous bulk. So setting up with this thing really isn't that hard, and it's a really good defensive pivot. It's got Roost. I've done so many things with this thing. I've run Roost, Heal Belt, Dragon Dance, Body Slam before, and it's such a beast set. Like, defensive Dragon Dance Altaria is one of my favorite sets to run. So I'm so pumped I got this thing, and even though I have used it in the past, I'm really excited to use it again. It's been a few years now since GBA Season 6. I think I'm a much better battler now, and I think that I can really use a setup sweeper like Mega Altaria very effectively. And it also, like I said, it functions very well as like a defensive Pokemon as well. And type-wise, synergistically with Jirachi, it's phenomenal. First of all, before Mega Evolution, it obviously is immune to ground type moves. From there, you know, Jirachi sponges those poison type moves pretty well. Mega Altaria sponges those you know, those whatchamacallit, those fire type moves really well. It sponges the dark type like knockoff and things like that. So they really complement each other super duper well. So moving into pick 3, this was kind of one of those things that it's kind of my new Victini, you know what I mean? I didn't draft Victini, but it's kind of my new Victini, and I've gone on the record and said that Alolan Ninetales is one of the best draft league Pokemon, and I got kind of laughed at. A lot of people were kind of, you know, making jokes about me on Twitter and I guess memeing me behind the scenes, and that's fine, but I really do think Alolan Ninetales is one of the best Pokemon in draft league format, and this is going to be, I think, the 4th time I've drafted it. I've drafted it a lot now. So I had it in NPA season 2 or 3, season 3. I had it in this past season of WBE. I had it in, what was it? I had it in another season. I forget which one it was, but this is going to be my 4th time using Alolan Ninetales, and I honestly think this thing is incredible, and I will probably draft it every season if it's going to be sitting there in round 3. I am going to grab it because this thing is amazing. It gives me a 109 base speed Pokemon with a really unique niche in using Aurora Veil. No other Pokemon can do what Ninetales can do, which is set up Aurora Veil for 5 to 8 turns of the Light Clay and basically shut your opponent's offense down and allow you to set up with things like Mega Altaria. That's just incredible and completely invaluable in draft league format. Not only that, I've used Ninetales Choice Specs, I've used it Life Orb, I've used Nasty Plot, I've used Never Melt Ice, I've used Choice Scarf many times, and it's actually creeping up to be the #1 kill leading Pokemon in my complete draft league history. Like, I think after this season, it's very possible that Ninetales will pass Victini as the most kills I've ever had with any Pokemon. I've used this thing so well over the last couple years, and it's honestly become one of my absolute favorite Pokemon to use. Again, its utility and just with Aurora Veil and its ability to offensively rip through teams is so incredible, because Ice is such a great offensive typing in general. Like, it's so good, but being something so fast like 109 base speed, having Fairy as well, and then being able to use Freeze Dry, which is one of the better moves in the game, to hit those bulky water types and potentially two-shot them on switch-ins, that just makes Alolan Ninetales that much better. So I know a lot of you guys might be sick of seeing me use Alolan Ninetales. It has a much different role on this team, but I really think that it was such a good pick, and I really couldn't pass it up in round 3. Like, to me, with Jirachi, with Mega Altaria, I just really like that, and I don't mind Double Fairy. I think it's always pretty good, especially if you have some things that are weak to Dragon. So I couldn't pass, man. I couldn't resist when I saw Alolan Ninetales, but I will admit, when I made the pick of Alolan Ninetales, that was my 3rd pick, and we were headed towards the wheel, so there was about 7 or 8 picks that were going to go before me, and I had 2 Pokemon in mind. I had Alolan Ninetales and 1 other Pokemon to pair with Alolan Ninetales, and I got it. That is Manaphy. I got Manaphy round 4. Can we evaluate this? So a lot of people in the league were saying, oh my god, Manaphy is not as good as it used to be. It's really not that good anymore. It's overrated. It's too much money or too much points for tier 1. I say forget that, dude. I have a incredible bulky water in tier 1 that has a setup move that boosts its special attack 3 stages. That is absurd, dude. You can boost its special attack with Tail Glow, and then you can hit incredibly hard with Surf. It's got Energy Ball, it's got Ice Beam. I understand sometimes it's pretty straightforward what set it brings, but I'm pairing this with Alolan Ninetales Aurora Veil, dude, anything slower than Manaphy is going to have such a hard time switching into this thing, because with Aurora Veil up, I'm almost guaranteed to get that Tail Glow, and if I get a Tail Glow and I'm outspeeding things on the opponent's side of the field, they're going to have a really difficult time dealing with switching into those moves. So to me, like, Manaphy is just such a valuable Pokemon as a setup sweeper, but it does more than that. I think a lot of people forget that Manaphy has a lot of utility options. It does get U-turn, it gets knockoff, it can be a physical set, it can also be just a defensive set. You can run Rain Dance with it, it's got hydration, so you can pair that with rest and heal up to full, and then you essentially remove your status. That pairs really nicely with Heal Bell on Mega Altaria. There's just a lot of things you can do with Manaphy, and to me, getting it in round 4 was just incredible. I see this thing go round 1 all the time, and I got it round 4, and I paired it with Alolan Ninetales Aurora Veil. That is phenomenal. Not to mention its two core weaknesses are electric and water. I'm sorry, electric and grass, and Mega Altaria does resist both of those. So that's really cool as well. And you'll see I actually pick a couple more Pokemon to help me sponge those. Yeah, and Alolan Ninetales is really, really good against those grass types. I've got a lot of utility in that, and I just really felt like Manaphy was so good in round 4. And I definitely picked Alolan Ninetales and Manaphy as a pair. Like, I think if Manaphy wasn't there, maybe I didn't pick Alolan Ninetales, but because I saw both of them still available, I was like, I have to get both of them. If I can get both of them, this team is going to be incredible out of the first 4 picks, and I think we really accomplished that. Moving into the next round, I kind of wanted something that could remove hazards. I feel like I tend to not prioritize hazard removal in draft. Defog's really good, but I think Rapid Spin is better, and I have had Donphan very briefly. I had it for half a season. I picked it up in free agency at one point, and I used it a little bit, and it is pretty straightforward to use. You typically are going to run like Stealth Rock, Rapid Spin, maybe you'll run like Knockoff and Earthquake or something. It's a pretty straightforward Pokemon, but a lot of the time you can actually run some cool stuff like Rocky Helmet. You can run Assault Vest. It does get moves like Seed Bomb and Gunk Shot and whatever else, so it's got a lot of options there, but its real value is it can set Stealth Rocks, which means Jirachi isn't pigeonholed into that role, and it can also remove hazards, which is really nice for things like Mega Altaria and Alolan Ninetales, especially removing like things like spikes and toxic spikes and primarily Stealth Rocks. It's also a really good ground type, which helps me absorb those electric type moves that could be aimed at Manaphy, and generally you want to have a ground type Pokemon on your team. So to me, Donphan, just a really solid pick overall. A lot of people will sleep on the fact that it does have base 120 attack. It's got that nice Ice Shard, which is really clutch, and it can run things like Rock Polish, so it can be a setup sweeper as well. Do not sleep on the fact that Donphan has a 120 attack stat. That is not bad. You click Rock Polish and you are running an offensive Donphan, it can plow through teams, so definitely don't sleep on that, especially when there's things like Aurora Veil to kind of back it up and really give it some love. And of course, it does have Sturdy, which is a tremendous ability for a hazard setter. It guarantees that you either get your Rapid Spin off or you get your hazards up, which is also really clutch. So I really like Donphan. I think it was a really good pick in this draft, and I think it's just a really good glue piece to kind of help out the rest of the team. Next pick was going to be Rotom-Heat. I just finished up the tier 3 and below league in P4G, which is pretty cool. And Rotom-Heat was actually one of my all-stars on that team. I've used Rotom a lot in the past. I've had Rotom Wash multiple times. I have Rotom Frost on my new team right now for WBE. I've used Rotom a lot, but Rotom-Heat is a really cool Rotom form because it gives you a fire type, but it gives you a fire type that's immune to ground type moves because of its Levitate. And I think that that's really valuable in itself. To me, like, I like the fact that it can defog. I think that's kind of cool, although you typically don't run that. But really what I like about Rotom is, like, offensively, it's not bad. Just clicking Overheat is pretty good. It's got a really good pivot options with the Volt Switch, which I think is really good. I wanted to have a Volt Switcher on the team. It's got a lot of good resistances, and even though it's, like, weak to rocks, it's really not too big of a deal when you have things like Pain Split and stuff like that. So, to me, Rotom was just, it was a really good pick. Like, again, one of those mons that I have used before, so it's not like I'm unfamiliar with it, but and I was so torn. Like I said, I was torn between drafting new stuff and like old friends, and in this case I had to grab Rotom again, man. I just felt like it was the best fit for the team, and when I was looking at other fire types, I saw like Chandelure and Darmanitan and things like that, and I really felt like Rotom was actually the best fit. Really good Scarfer. I love the fact that it can trick Scarves. I love the fact that it can, you know, Thunder Wave and Will-O-Wisp things and kind of slow things down there. I've run it with dual screens before, and Overheat is actually really, really powerful attack, you know, especially when you run it with like Specs and things like that. Like, you can run offensive Rotom as well, so, and its bulk is really nice, so I felt like it was a really good complement to the team, and it really gave me opportunities to get free switch-ins. It also gave me that electric and that grass resist for Manaphy, and again, having that ground immunity is really nice for things like Jirachi and stuff too. So I felt like Rotom was just a really good glue piece. Moving into some of our really fun picks here. This was a mistake by the UBL. I'm going to be honest here, and I tried to exploit it. So the UBL decided that they were going to allow Shadow Tag, which is typically banned. A lot of draft leagues don't allow Shadow Tag. In the past, there have been some. I remember GBA did allow it at one point, and you know, some people don't really mind it. I don't think Shadow Tag's like OP. Like, I think it's it's okay to run. I don't think we should be banning Dugtrio. I don't think we should be banning Gothitelle and things like that. They should be, you know, allowed to be drafted, but putting Wobbuffet in tier 5, I think that was a mistake, UBL. I think that was a mistake, and I mean no disrespect by that, but when I saw it, I was all over it, dude. I was all over it. I grabbed it in round 7 here, I believe, and I was gonna grab it earlier, but I held off as long as I could because I was like, I want Wobbuffet in tier 5. Like, I 1,000,000% want Wobbuffet. I gotta make sure that I grab it because if someone else gets it, it's gonna be a nightmare. This thing is incredible. Incredible, dude. First of all, it's Ubers, right? Because of Shadow Tag, so that alone. But if you guys don't know about Wobbuffet, Wobbuffet's a very simple Pokemon to use, right? It runs the save 4 moves pretty much every week: Counter, Mirror Coat, Encore, and Destiny Bond. Pretty much it. So basically what Wobbuffet does though is it has that Shadow Tag ability, which is going to trap opponents in. You can then Encore them into a specific attack. They're then stuck into Encore and cannot switch out. You can then proceed to either Counter or Mirror Coat or whatever it may be, or you can simply switch out to a Pokemon that's safe. Say I Encore them into Earthquake or whatever. That allows me to potentially switch into something like my Rotom and hit a big hit. Or maybe I Encore them into Dragon Pulse. I go into my Mega Altaria, which is immune to that attack. I can then proceed to Dragon Dance up and get a free setup opportunity. Not only that, but it just really forces preparation. Whether, I mean, I don't know how many games there are, 12, 15 games, whatever this season. I may only bring Wobbuffet to 5 games, 2 games, 3 games, whatever, but I guarantee you every single week my opponent is going to have to think about Wobbuffet. They're going to have to run Shed Shell, they're going to have to run mixed attackers, they're going to have to fit Toxic here and there, they're going to have to do all sorts of things to try to deal with Wobbuffet, and getting that in a tier 5 is just incredible, dude. This thing is so good for setup sweepers, and it basically what you do is I look at a match and I say, okay, I think Mega Altaria can sweep once I get rid of, let's say, Empoleon, right? In my mind, Mega Altaria beats my opponent once Empoleon's gone. All I gotta do is find that opportunity to get Wobbuffet in against Empoleon, trap that Empoleon, knock it out, or Encore it into something that I can't do, give myself an opportunity to come in and hit some things hard and just wreck my opponent, you know what I mean? So once their check or counter goes down to one of my big setup sweepers like Manaphy or Altaria or whatever it may be, Wobbuffet comes in, it does a lot of work, it traps things, and then puts in, you know, finishes things off. So even if it just forces Shed Shell, like I said, it's so valuable in that sense. And when I grabbed it, I was like, oh my god, this was a mistake by the UBL, man. I'm so happy to have Wobbuffet, dude. I'm really pumped about this Pokemon. Maybe I'm overhyping it, I don't know. I've never used it, like I really haven't, but I've had it used against me. I remember MV had it in GBA, and it was a nightmare to deal with Wobbuffet Gorebyss. Like, you knew that if you got trapped by Wobbuffet and it got encored into something, that Gorebyss was coming in, it was getting a Shell Smash up, and you lose. Like, you just know that, and the fact that this thing can do that to a team is just so scary. I'm really pumped about Wobbuffet, man. I really am. Our next pick is gonna be Waterium Z. This was a pretty straightforward choice. I got sniped in WBE on my Z Crystal. I wanted Fly Z for Gyarados and Landorus, and it got taken the round I was gonna grab my Z Crystal, so I was bummed. I had to grab Rocky MZ. So I said, I'm not letting this happen again. I don't think anyone else wants Water Z. I'm taking it now. Forget it. I'm not waiting. I cannot risk losing the Z Crystal. I need Water Z. Water Z, if you don't know, is a very good pairing for Manaphy. Manaphy actually pretty much needs it. I think Manaphy's a good Pokemon on its own, but with Water Z is really where most of its sets kind of come into fruition. The key is Z Rain Dance, which allows you to not only set up the rain, but also boost your speed by 1 stage. That activates Hydration, allows you to basically be immune to different status moves. That's really good. Also, a lot of the time, Manaphy will run Z, like Z Surf or Z Hydro Pump to be able to break through bulky attackers. Things like Clefable, which maybe come in and they try to use Unaware to stop your Tail Glow, and then you just nuke them with a big Water Z move. So that's really where Manaphy kind of, you know, functions there. Obviously, I have things like Rotom. I believe Rotom can run Rain Dance Thunder, so like that's kind of cool. If I wanted to run Z Rain Dance Thunder Rotom, that could be really good against an opponent. Donphan, I think, gets Aqua Tail. But really the team, it primarily functions around Manaphy, my Z Crystal, and I'm okay with that. Like, I find that in these Z Crystal specific drafts, I usually only use my Z Crystal a handful of times throughout the season. It's really not a big deal. But looking at my team and where it was going and the direction it was headed, just Water Z was a no-brainer, and I wanted to make sure I grabbed that as soon as possible because I did not want to get it taken this time. Because again, Manaphy is a good Pokemon, but it's a great Pokemon when it's paired with Water Z. So I felt like that was just pretty much a no-brainer. This was a good pick, man. Going into, what was this, round 9? Yeah, something like that, round 9, round 10, whatever it was. I think it was round 9. Gengar, dude. I got Gengar on my team. This is a Pokemon that I've wanted to use in Draft League format forever. It is so good offensively, dude. Ghost, Flying, and Electric types are so good offensively in Draft League format, and actually Ghost and Flying are probably the top 2 in that situation, just because there's very few things that switch into those types. In the case of Gengar, really normal types obviously have an immunity, dark types come in and they have a resistance, but other than that, Gengar just clicks Shadow Ball, dude. Choice Spec Shadow Balls are phenomenal. Choice Scarf is really good. It can run Sub, Disable. It's got that Curse Body. It sponges up Toxic Spikes, which is really good, so I can kind of shut those down pretty nicely. It's got D-Bond. It's just got a lot of options, and Gengar is just such a hard-hitting Pokemon with a great speed stat at 110. So to me, I was like, this really helps out my speed tiers. I got 100, 109, 110. That's really awesome. I've got nice things under that. I got 86, 80. I mean, my speed tiers are like flawless in this draft, which I was really happy about. And Gengar is just such a good Pokemon, man. Again, it does get Sludge Wave, it gets Sludge Bomb, it gets Focus Blast, obviously. It gets things like Thunderbolt and so on and so forth. So you really can use some cool options there, Icy Wind and whatever else, to kind of make it work. It can, again, run Substitute and so on and so forth. So just a really solid Pokemon that can do a lot of different things in terms of offensively, and also it can be like kind of a cool little trickery Pokemon, like it can stop some attacks and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just such a beast, and I'm really pumped that I got Gengar, because again, this is one of those Pokemon that I've wanted for a really long time in Draft League format, and for some reason, like, I mean, I get it, there's other things that are good, but like, Gengar always gets overlooked. Like, it always ends up either going undrafted or drafted really late in the draft, and even though it's not what it used to be with Levitate, Curse Body's still a decent ability, and honestly, it's just so good, dude. It's just such a good Pokemon, and I was really pumped to get Gengar. Moving into the next round here, I wanted more speed. I was looking at the different options, and I was thinking, you know what, I could really nail down my speed tiers right now if I get Accelgor. So I went with it, man. Accelgor puts me at 145. I have 145, 110, 109, 100, 100, 86, and then 80, and then I think 60, and there's a couple other things. I think that's most of it right there. My speed tiers are phenomenal, dude. They are like flawless. I'm so happy with that. Accelgor is a beast, dude. It is a beast. This thing, Choice Specs and Life Orb offensively, very good. Really nice in the rain too, like it does get Hydration, it gets Sticky Hold, a couple different cool little tech moves there. But the real value to Accelgor is the fact that it gets Spikes and Toxic Spikes. A lot of people don't realize Ultra Sun and Moon, it has Toxic Spikes now. That is a new addition to Ultra Sun and Moon, and now I have one of my favorite moves in Draft League format, Toxic Spikes, on a Pokemon that you usually don't expect it on, which is really good. It can set hazards, it can hazard stack, and I have a team that's really good. I have my Gengar as my spin blocker. Don't forget about that. Gengar can block Rapid Spin, which is great, and I can set those hazards up, and honestly, I've faced Accelgor a handful of times, and it's really scary to prep for offensively, because it's one of those Pokemon that you're like, oh, it's just an Accelgor. But when it outspeeds your entire team and fires off Life Orb or Choice Spec Bug Buzzes and you don't really have a reliable switch in, it can be really difficult to switch into. Like, it functions as a really good breaker, and it can be a sweeper too. It also gets Water Shuriken, which is kind of a cool little tech move as well against like fast fire types and you know, ground types and stuff like Landorus or whatever else. You can fire off some Water Shurikens, do a little damage there. So U-turn as well for momentum, and it's got Final Gambit too. So if you're worried about them going for Rapid Spin or something like that, you can just Final Gambit and they actually can't do that, which is cool. So Accelgor, really sick Pokemon, great speed stat, awesome shiny. I'm definitely bringing the shiny one, and I knew I needed the bug type. I was like, I gotta get a bug type at some point. I'm gonna go with Accelgor, man. This is a really cool Pokemon, and it fits the team really well. Scrafty, baby. I wanted the fire type, I wanted the fighting type, I wanted the dark type. Pangoro was ranked in tier 3. I thought that was too much for it. I probably would have went Pangoro, but I went with Scrafty. I like Scrafty on this team a lot, man. I like its abilities. I like Intimidate, I like Shed Skin, I like Moxie. I think those are 3 great abilities on this team. I love the Intimidate. It doesn't have priority really, which kind of stinks, but I mean, it gets Fake Out, but it does have setup options. Bulk Up and Dragon Dance, both really good setup options. It's got High Jump Kick, Drain Punch, can get Knockoff, and it's a really good Dark Resist. It's a really bulky Pokemon. It's actually got really good bulk, which I almost didn't even realize. It's got pretty good coverage options, and it's a pretty decent Pokemon in general. I feel like in Draft League format, it's really slept on, but honestly, that 4 times weakness to Fairy, not a big deal, dude. I got a Rotom, I got a Jirachi, I got a Gengar. Like, I'm really not concerned about that. And if I can set up with a Dragon Dance or something, like, people are going to be so concerned with Altaria, you're going to be so concerned with, you know, Manaphy and whatever else, and then Scrafty just comes and it sets up and puts in the work, man. Bulk Up Scrafty is no joke, dude, and like the fact that Shed Skin is such a good thing, where you can, you know, heal off those burns and whatever else, so maybe rest and Shed Skin it, like a lot of different options there with Bulk Up. Scrafty's a really good Pokemon, man. I'm really pumped to use it. I think it's a really good fit for this team, and I was pumped because, again, I wanted the Dark type, I wanted the Fighting type, and like, being able to get both of those in one pick, that was really solid. And then kind of going to my last pick here, I was debating. I knew I had to grab a low tier, like a tier 5. I was thinking a bulky grass type would probably be the best because I don't have a grass type yet. I was debating between a couple different things. I remember, I'm trying to remember what I was torn between. I feel like there was a handful of different Pokemon that I was like, this might be good, this might be good. What should I go with? Should I even get a grass type? Do I go with Alolan Sandslash? Like, what do I go with? And I ended up going with Go-Goat, dude. Like, this is kind of a funny pick, but Go-Goat's kind of a beast, man. I feel like you can't sleep on Go-Goat. Go-Goat has an immunity to grass type moves, which is kind of cool. It's very, very bulky, dude. It's like got incredible, I believe it's special bulk. And it's got a great HP stat, a decent attack stat. It's got Horn Leech. It also gets things like Earthquake. It gets Rock Slide, and it's got Milk Drink too, so it can actually heal itself up. And what I've found is like bulk up Go-Goat is like a real thing. It's like really, really good. But it's just a really bulky Pokemon in general. So I felt like it was a good fit. Like I don't think it's gonna come all the time, but it can sponge those grass type moves. It can sponge those electric type moves. It can sponge those ground type moves and really take those hits and like not really have to worry about much damage at all. And be really strong in that regard. So I felt like Gengar was just such a good pick. Especially in tier 5. I haven't really seen it do a ton of work. I mean, I faced it one time and it was actually kind of a pain. I think that was in APA when I had like the Celesteela team. Go-Go was actually kind of annoying for me. I realized like, oh my god, this thing's like really bulky. But you know, it's a good Pokemon. I think it'll be really fun to use, and I think it was like a really solid grass type. I think Gourgeist was the other thing I was really looking at, but I didn't want to have Gourgeist and Gengar on the same team. I love Gourgeist, but I just felt like that was a bit too much. But yeah, Go-Go I think will be pretty sick. So kind of looking at the team as a collective unit, I think it's honestly the best team I've ever drafted, man. I know like we have to see how it functions, and obviously like it might take me a little while to get used to it. There's some different nuances to it, but I really think that this team is honestly like phenomenal. I think the only thing I would say is like I wish I had another Stealth Rocker. You know, I have Jirachi, Donphan, that's it. I have a Accelgor for Spikes, T-Spikes. That's a lot of hazards in itself, but it would have been nice to have one more Stealth Rocker. But with Donphan, which is normally a Stealth Rocker, like I'm really not super concerned there. I love our setup options with Ninetales setting up, allowing, don't forget Calm Mind Jirachi, dude. Allowing Mega Altaria to DD, allowing Manaphy to Tail Glow, allowing Scrafty to set up. Really like all those things, and I think we covered pretty much every typing that we needed to. I've got a lot of the boxes checked, so I think this team's phenomenal. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this team? Are you excited for the battles? Let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed this draft breakdown. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys next week. We're taking on the Uzi Gunner in our first week up match, so that should be fun. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace. Thanks so much for checking out my last video. If you like that one, you'll definitely like this one, and be sure to subscribe for more as I post Pokemon videos every single day.